Captain Richard Hayes stood on the bridge of his warship and looked at the stars ahead. He commanded 30 ships carrying 12,000 human soldiers. They were joining the Galactic Council fleet to fight the Devourers, a terrible enemy that consumed everything in their path. The year was 2297 and humanity had been part of the Council for 50 years. The battle at Thresh Nebula was supposed to be the final fight. Every species sent their ships. Every world sent their soldiers. Richard felt proud that Earth could help their new friends win this war. His crew was ready. They had trained for months. They believed in what they were doing. Then the communication stopped. No messages came through. No ships returned home. Earth waited for news but heard only silence. The gateway array that connected them to the Council went dark. Engineers tried everything to reactivate it, but nothing worked. The portal opened to empty space instead of the Council hub. 300 years passed. Commander Daniel Price walked through Armstrong Station and stared at the dead gateway array floating nearby. He drank his coffee and thought about the mystery that had puzzled humanity for centuries. Where did everyone go? What happened to Captain Hayes and his soldiers? Did the Devourers win? Did the Council abandon Earth on purpose? Lieutenant Sophie Grant joined him at the window. She was young but smart. Her family had stories about the aliens who used to visit Earth. The Zenthari with their crystal skin. The Warvath who could sense emotions. The Kellian warriors who respected human courage. All of them were gone now. Maybe they all died in the war, Sophie said quietly. Daniel shook his head. If the Devourers won, they would have come for us next. But we have been alone for 3 centuries with no attacks. Something else happened. Back on Earth, President Helen Carter read the same reports. She made a decision that would change everything. Humanity had the alien technology and databases left behind. Scientists had been studying them for generations. They had learned how to build their own faster-than-light drives. Maybe it was time to find out what happened to the galaxy. Dr. Nathan Cross worked at the Lunar Research Facility. He was the smartest scientist humanity had. His team spent decades studying the Gateway Array. They finally figured out how it worked. In 2489, they built the first human faster-than-light engine. It was slower than the Gateway, but it meant humanity could reach the stars. Colony ships launched to nearby systems. New Boston was built on a world near Proxima Centauri. New Shanghai followed. Then Nova Lagos and New Mumbai. 50 colonies spread across 30 light years. Humanity grew stronger with each new world, but they also prepared for war. General Frank Coleman stood in the Pentagon and showed the Joint Chiefs what Earth had been building. Massive shipyards orbited Mars, Venus, and Europa. Hundreds of warships were under construction. Weapons that combined human ideas with alien technology. An army that had trained for 300 years. Our ancestors died fighting for the Council, Frank said to the assembled officers. They never came home. We don't know if they were heroes or if they were abandoned. But we know this. Humanity will never be weak again. We will never trust others to protect us. We protect ourselves now. Admiral Patricia Kane nodded. She commanded the Solar Navy. 250 warships ready for battle. Thousands of fighters. Marines trained to fight in any condition. Earth had become a military power while the rest of the galaxy was silent. We need to reactivate the gateway, Patricia said. We need to find out what happened. And we need to be ready for whatever we discover. More scientists joined Dr. Nathan Cross. They worked day and night on the gateway array. They tried new approaches. They tested different power levels. They refused to give up because humanity needed answers. Finally, they succeeded. The gateway array hummed with energy. Blue light crackled along its surface. Daniel Price watched from Armstrong Station as the portal opened. On the other side, they saw wreckage. Thousands of destroyed ships floating around a shattered space station. The architecture was Galactic Council design, but everything was broken and burned. What happened here? Sophie whispered. Daniel ran scans of the debris. This damage is 300 years old. Right when we lost contact. Whatever destroyed this place happened during the war. They opened gateways to other locations from the old Council databases. Every place was the same. Destroyed stations, dead worlds, abandoned cities. The Galactic Council had fallen and nobody survived. Or so they thought. After weeks of searching, Sophie found something different. A weak signal repeating endlessly. She worked to decode it and discovered a message. This is Sanctuary Station. Galactic Council emergency protocols in effect. Survivors of the Devourer War respond on secure channels. We endure. We remember. We wait. Daniel felt his heart race. Someone was alive out there. Someone had survived. He immediately sent the signal to President Carter. Helen made her decision quickly. Earth would send a fleet to investigate, 6 warships under Captain Vincent Cole. They would go as friends but prepared for anything. Too much time had passed. Too many questions needed answers. Humanity would not walk blindly into another situation where others controlled their fate. The fleet assembled and passed through the gateway. They emerged 80 light-years from Earth and found Sanctuary Station. It was huge. A ring 50 kilometers across surrounding an artificial star. Millions of life signs registered on their sensors. Sections showed damage, but much of the station was intact and functional. "We are being scanned," reported Commander Lisa Park from the tactical station. "They know we are here." Vincent opened a communication channel. "Sanctuary Station, this is Captain Vincent Cole of the Solar Navy ship Arizona. We represent the United Earth government. We received your distress beacon. We have come to help. Please respond." A face appeared on the screen, a Xanthari with crystal skin that reflected light. Vincent recognized the species from old records. The alien looked surprised and tired. "Earth," the Xanthari said. "You survived. You found us." "We did," Vincent replied carefully. "We have been searching for months. Every other council location was destroyed. You are the first survivors we found." The Xanthari's features shifted. "We are not just survivors, Captain Cole, we are the last. I am Administrator Kelvin of the Xanthari Remnant. 43 species shelter here. I welcome you to Sanctuary Station." "And I apologize." "Apologize for what?" Vincent asked. "For leaving you behind. For closing the gateway. For 300 years of silence. We thought we were protecting you. We were wrong." Vincent felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "I think we need to talk, Administrator. Face to face. We have many questions and you will answer them." Vincent Cole and his officers sat in a conference room on Sanctuary Station. The journey through the docking bay had shown them how crowded the place was. Refugees from dozens of species packed into every available space. Xanthari, Warvath, Kellian, and many others that humans had never seen before. All of them stared at the human soldiers with fear and hope mixed together. Administrator Kelvin sat across the table with other alien leaders. Elder Marcus was a Warvath with tentacles that moved slowly. Commander Grace was a Kellian military officer with 4 arms and sharp eyes. Others filled the remaining seats. "The Devourer War was worse than your species knew," Kelvin began. "The Council mobilized everything. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. Your Captain Richard Hayes and his 12,000 humans died at Thresh Nebula buying time for evacuation fleets." Vincent felt the words hit hard. They had suspected this, but hearing confirmation was different. "Evacuation to where?" "Anywhere we could reach," Elder Marcus answered. His sensory organs quivered as he spoke. The Devourers were not mindless insects. They were intelligent and strategic. They wanted to consume all biological life. When we realized we could not win through normal warfare, the Council made a terrible choice. Commander Grace continued the story. "We collapsed the gateway network. Every major hub was overloaded and destroyed. This severed the instant travel that connected our civilizations for millions of years. We theorized that without the network, the Devourers could not spread quickly. They would be limited to slower travel. This would give survivors time to hide and rebuild." "You trapped them," Vincent said as understanding came. "But you trapped yourselves too." "Yes," Kelvin confirmed. "And in our panic, we made another decision. Earth was isolated from the worst fighting. Your system was on the edge of Council space, far from the Devourer invasion. We decided to cut your connection first. We hoped your species would survive even if the rest of us fell. You closed the door and left us in the dark," Vincent said. His voice was hard and cold. "For 300 years we wondered if you were dead or if you abandoned us. We sent our soldiers to fight your war. You repaid us by cutting us off completely." "We did," Kelvin said simply, "and we have regretted it every day since. But Captain Cole, you must understand. We thought we were saving you. Earth was the youngest Council species, the most vulnerable. We could not protect you, so we tried to hide you instead." Sophie Grant had been silent, but now she spoke. "Did it work? Are the Devourers defeated?" The aliens looked at each other. Finally, Commander Grace answered, "We do not know. After the Gateway network collapsed, we lost contact with most of the galaxy. The species here at Sanctuary are those who managed to reach this location using slower than light travel. It took decades, For some, it took centuries. We established this station as a meeting point, a place to rebuild, but we have been isolated and afraid to expand or transmit widely for fear of attracting the devourers again. For 300 years you have been hiding here, Vincent said. Surviving here, Elder Marcus corrected. We lost everything, Captain. Homeworlds, cultures, histories spanning millions of years. This station holds 43 species. We represent less than 1% of the original Galactic Council. The rest are dead or scattered so far, we will never find them. The room became silent. Vincent looked at his officers and saw his own thoughts reflected in their faces. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing for war. They had built weapons and nursed their anger at being abandoned. They had imagined themselves as the forgotten child left to die alone. But these aliens had lost everything. Their entire civilization had collapsed. They did not abandon Earth out of cruelty, but out of desperate hope that at least one species might survive. It did not make it right. But it made it understandable. What now? Vincent asked. You have been broadcasting that beacon for 300 years. Were you hoping for rescue? We were hoping for a miracle, Kelvin said. The message was aimed at scattered council survivors. Anyone who might have escaped the devourers and kept the technology to detect it. We never expected Earth to be the ones who answered. He paused. How did you find us? The gateway network was destroyed. Vincent smiled for the first time since the meeting began. We rebuilt it. Humanity studied the technology you left behind and developed our own faster-than-light engines. We reactivated the gateway array. We have been systematically searching old council territories for survivors. The aliens stared at him in shock. You rebuilt the network? Commander Grace asked. That should be impossible. The technology requires materials and knowledge that takes civilizations millions of years to develop. Humans are good at doing impossible things, Sophie said quietly, especially when we are angry and have 300 years to work with. Kelvin's crystal features shifted, and this time Vincent was certain it was a smile. Then perhaps the council made one correct decision. We saved the species that would eventually save us. Maybe, Vincent said. But we are not here to save you, Administrator. We are here to get answers, to find out what happened to our soldiers, to decide what happens next. What do you want, Captain Cole? Vincent stood and his officers rose with him. First, we are going back to Earth to make a full report. Then President Carter and our military leaders will decide how humanity responds to this situation. But I can tell you what I will recommend, and that is that Earth rejoins the galactic community, on our terms this time, as equals, not as junior partners, not as children learning from elders. If the devourers are still out there, they are going to find out that humanity does not forgive. We never forget, and we finish what we start. The aliens looked at each other. Finally, Kelvin stood and offered a Zenthari gesture of respect. Then we will await Earth's decision. But Captain Cole, whatever your people choose, know this. We have lived in fear and darkness for 300 years. Your arrival here is the first hope we have had in longer than I can express. The fact that any species survived and thrived enough to reach us means everything. Do not underestimate what that means to us. Vincent nodded. We will be back, Administrator, with more ships, more people, and answers about what happens next. The human fleet returned through the gateway to Earth. Vincent spent the entire journey writing his report. He knew that what he said would shape humanity's future. 3 centuries ago, Earth had been left behind, abandoned and alone. Now humanity had a choice. They could return the favor and leave the council remnants to their fate. Or they could be better than those who had abandoned them. Vincent knew which choice he would recommend. The question was whether Earth would agree. Would humanity help rebuild the civilization that had cut them off? Would they risk their soldiers again for aliens who had failed them once before? The answer would determine the future of the galaxy. The World Congress gathered for the most important session in 50 years. Every representative from Earth's government was present. Delegates from all 50 colony worlds filled the chamber. The gallery was packed with journalists and citizens who wanted to witness history. President Helen Carter stood at the podium and waited for silence. Behind her, massive screens displayed images from Sanctuary Station. The crowded refugee sections, the damaged hull, the faces of 43 alien species barely surviving. 3 months ago, we reactivated the gateway array, Helen began. Her voice was strong and clear. We began searching for the Galactic Council that abandoned us 3 centuries ago. What we found was not a thriving civilization, but the ruins of one. Every major council hub is destroyed. Every homeworld we located is either dead or abandoned. The war we sent our ancestors to fight was lost. The survivors have been hiding in fear ever since. She paused and let the weight sink in. Captain Vincent Cole's fleet discovered Sanctuary Station. It holds 43 species and approximately 3 million individuals. They represent less than 1% of the original Galactic Council. The rest are gone. Dead, scattered, or hiding so deep we may never find them. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Helen raised her hand for quiet. The question before us today is simple. What does humanity do now? We could close the gateway again and return to our isolation. We have built a strong, independent civilization. We do not need the council anymore. She looked across the assembled faces. Or we could do something different. General Frank Coleman stepped forward to present the military facts. If we choose to engage with the council remnants, we need to understand the situation. The Devourers were last seen 300 years ago, but we have no confirmation they are defeated. They could still be out there, limited to slower than light travel, but still a threat. He brought up tactical displays. Humanity currently operates 50 colonies within 30 light years of Earth. We have a fleet of 240 warships with more under construction. Our weapons combine human ideas with council technology. In raw combat power, we likely exceed what the old council could field when Earth first joined them. So we are stronger than they are, said Representative Carlos Martinez from Nova Lagos. Why should we help them? They left us to die. They thought they were saving us, countered Representative Yuki Tanaka from New Tokyo. And they were right. If Earth had stayed connected to the Gateway network, the Devourers would have reached us. We survived because we were isolated. The chamber erupted in debate. Some argued for isolation. Humanity owed nothing to the council. Others wanted limited contact. Maybe trade but no military involvement. Still others pushed for full reintegration. Humanity had a moral duty to help. Dr. Nathan Cross requested time to speak. Helen granted it. I have spent my entire career studying council technology, Nathan said. What I learned is that the Galactic Council was not just a political alliance. It was millions of years of accumulated knowledge, culture, and wisdom. Yes, they made mistakes. Yes, they failed. But they also achieved things we are still trying to understand. He pulled up images of council databases. These archives contain scientific discoveries we have not begun to explore. Medical treatments, engineering techniques, histories of civilizations that rose and fell before Earth had complex life. If we turn our backs on the council remnants, we lose all of that. So we are supposed to save them for their libraries? Asked Representative James Murphy with doubt in his voice. No, Nathan replied. We save them because we can. Because we are in a position to help. Because 300 years ago they made a choice they thought would save us. Maybe it is time we returned the favor but did it right this time. Admiral Patricia Kane spoke next. If we engage with Sanctuary Station, I recommend we do so from a position of strength. We offer protection and assistance, but we set the terms. No more junior partner status. No more being left out of important decisions. Earth leads or Earth walks away. Helen nodded. That matched her own thinking. I am going to make a recommendation. I propose we establish formal relations with Sanctuary Station and offer military protection. In exchange, we gain access to their databases and technology. We have equal say in any decisions about confronting the Devourer threat. You are talking about taking over the council, Representative Martinez said. I am talking about rebuilding it, Helen corrected, with humanity as a founding member this time, not a junior addition. The old council failed. Maybe a new one built on different principles will not. The debate continued for hours. Finally, a vote was called. When the count finished, the resolution passed by 68%. Not overwhelming, but enough. Earth would rejoin the galactic community. On humanity's terms, Captain Vincent Cole received his orders 3 days later. Return to Sanctuary Station with a fleet of 50 ships and begin establishing formal relations. Bring engineers, diplomats, scientists, and medical personnel. Show the council remnants that humanity had not just survived but thrived. The fleet that assembled was powerful. 50 warships, including the new carriers capable of housing thousands of personnel. Transport vessels carrying supplies, equipment, and habitats. Hospital ships with advanced medical facilities. This was not just a military deployment. It was a statement. Sophie Grant, newly promoted to commander, served as Vincent's second-in-command on the Arizona. As the fleet prepared to depart through the gateway, she stood beside him on the bridge. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. Vincent watched Earth grow smaller in the view screen. 3 centuries ago, we were the newcomers, grateful for a seat at the table. Now we are the ones with power, resources, and capability. Everything has changed. Does that make you uncomfortable? A little, Vincent admitted. Power is dangerous. It can corrupt people. We need to make sure we use it wisely. The fleet emerged at Sanctuary Station to find Administrator Kelvin waiting with a delegation. But this time, the human ships did not approach humbly. They spread out in a defensive formation, clearly capable of protecting themselves and the station if needed. The message was clear. Humanity comes as partners, not servants. The formal reception was held in one of the station's main halls. Thousands of aliens gathered to see the human delegation. Vincent noticed many of them staring at the human soldiers with something like awe. The armor, the weapons, the confident way they carried themselves. This was not the species they remembered. Administrator Kelvin gave a welcoming speech expressing gratitude for Earth's help. Then it was Vincent's turn to respond. 300 years ago, humanity joined the Galactic Council as the youngest species, Vincent said. His voice was translated into dozens of languages. We were eager to learn, to contribute, to prove ourselves worthy. When the Devourers came, we sent everything we had to the fight. 12,000 of our people died at Thresh Nebula, buying time for evacuations they did not know were happening. He paused and let that sink in. Then you closed the gateway. You cut us off and decided our fate without asking us. You thought you were protecting us, and maybe you were, but you also left us alone in the dark, wondering if we had been abandoned or if everyone we knew was dead. Some of the aliens looked uncomfortable. Vincent wanted them to feel that discomfort. Humanity could have responded by becoming isolated, bitter, focused only on our own survival. Some of us wanted that. But Earth has decided to be better than what we experienced. Vincent straightened his posture. We are here to help rebuild the Council, to share our resources, our technology, our strength, but we are doing it as equals this time, not as children learning from parents, but as partners working together. He gestured to the fleet visible through the windows. Those ships represent 3 centuries of human development. We have brought engineers to help repair the station, medical teams to help your wounded and sick, scientists to share research, and yes, we have brought soldiers. Because if the Devourers are still out there, we are going to finish what our ancestors started. Elder Marcus stepped forward. What do you want in return, Captain Cole? Honesty, Vincent said simply. Open communication. Access to your databases and knowledge. And most importantly, a voice in decisions that affect us. No more closed-door meetings that determine humanity's fate. We are in this together now, or we are not in it at all. Commander Grace spoke up. You speak of equality, but your fleet could easily overwhelm this station. You hold all the power here. We do, Vincent acknowledged. And that is exactly why you can trust us. If we wanted to dominate you, we could. Instead, we are offering partnership. Judge us by our actions, Commander, not by what the old Council did to us. The negotiations took weeks. Human engineers began working with Council technicians to repair critical systems. Medical teams set up clinics and started treating health issues that had been neglected for years. Scientists exchanged information. Both sides were amazed at what the other had developed in isolation. Sophie coordinated much of the daily work. She found herself working closely with a young Zenthari engineer. His name was Kelvin Jr., the grandchild of Administrator Kelvin. Your people have changed so much, Jr. said one day as they reviewed power systems. The old records show humans as cautious, always seeking approval. But now you are confident and decisive. What? The sensor data came through 3 months after humanity established relations with Sanctuary Station. Commander Lisa Park was on duty in the Arizona's Tactical Center when the automated probe sent its final readings, before going silent. Captain Cole to Tactical, she said into the communication system. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. Priority alert. You need to see this immediately. Vincent arrived within minutes with Sophie right behind him. Lisa brought up the probe's findings on the main display. The images were unclear, taken from extreme distance, but there was no mistaking what they showed. Ships. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. Those are Devourer signatures, Lisa said, highlighting the energy patterns, matching what we have in the Council databases. But Captain, look at the formation patterns. Vincent leaned closer to study the display. The ships were not moving randomly like mindless insects. They flew in precise geometric patterns, coordinated and purposeful. They have learned, Sophie said quietly. 300 years is a long time. Even for an enemy we thought was just bugs following instinct. Where are they going? Vincent asked. Lisa pulled up trajectory analysis. Toward what used to be Council space. Current speed suggests they are using slower than light drives, probably because they cannot access the gateway network anymore. At their current pace, they will reach the nearest inhabited systems in approximately 15 years. 15 years, Vincent repeated. That is not much time to prepare for war. Within the hour, an emergency meeting gathered in Sanctuary Station's council chambers. Representatives from all 44 member species came together, including President Helen Carter, who had traveled from Earth for this session. Administrator Kelvin called the meeting to order. The probe data has been verified by 3 independent teams. The Devourers survived and they are coming back. We need to decide how to respond. The chamber erupted in panic. Many of the aliens present had lost everything to the Devourers 300 years ago. The idea of facing them again clearly terrified them. We should run, said Representative Vortan, speaking for the Kellyan delegation. Move Sanctuary Station deeper into unknown space. Hide like we have been doing. Hide where? Demanded General Frank Coleman, who had come with President Carter. They found this region of space once. They can find it again. Running just delays what will happen eventually. Elder Marcus raised a tentacle for attention. The Devourers destroyed the greatest civilization the galaxy has ever known. The Council at its height commanded millions of ships. Weapons refined over billions of years. We lost. What makes anyone think we can win now with a fraction of those resources? Because we have something the old Council did not, Helen Carter said, standing. All eyes turned to her. We have humanity, and we have had 300 years to prepare. With respect, President Carter, Administrator Kelvin said carefully. Humanity is one species. Powerful, yes, but still just one. The Devourers crushed thousands. The old Council was reactive, Helen continued. They built their civilization during peace, then tried to adapt it for war when the Devourers came. They failed because they were not designed to fight. Humanity is different. She gestured to General Coleman, who brought up tactical displays. For 3 centuries, Earth has been preparing for exactly this situation. We did not know if we were preparing to fight the Devourers or the Council itself for abandoning us or some new threat. But we prepared. Every colony, every shipyard, every research facility has been focused on one goal: making sure we are never helpless again. The displays showed Earth's military power. The massive orbital yards, the weapons research facilities, the training centers on a dozen worlds. It was impressive, but Commander Grace from the Kellyan military was not convinced. You have 250 ships, she said, against thousands. The numbers do not favor us. Quality over quantity, Frank replied. Our ships use the best of Council technology with 3 centuries of human ideas. One of our larger warships is worth 20 of the ships the old Council had, and we are not done building. Sophie stepped forward with her own information. More importantly, we have advantages. The Devourers are limited to slower than light travel because the gateway network was destroyed. But we rebuilt portions of it. We can move forces instantly across vast distances. That gives us flexibility they cannot match. A defensive strategy, Vincent added. We fortify key systems with gateway access. Create zones where we can concentrate overwhelming force. Make them pay dearly for every distance they advance. You are talking about fighting for years, Elder Marcus said. Maybe decades. Can your species maintain that commitment? Helen's expression became hard. 12,000 humans died at Thresh Nebula fighting your war. Their sacrifice bought time for refugees to escape, though we did not know it at the time. You think we are going to let that sacrifice be meaningless? The Devourers are coming. If we do not stop them here, they will eventually reach Earth. We have no choice but to fight. Neither do we, Administrator Kelvin said quietly. Sanctuary Station represents the last of our civilizations. If we run, we die slowly. If we fight, we might die quickly, but at least we will die with purpose. He looked around the chamber. I propose we accept Earth's leadership in this matter. They have the military strength, the planning ability, and most importantly, the will to fight. All in favor? The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. The new Galactic Council would make its stand against the Devourers with humanity leading the defense. Over the next 3 months, Massive preparations began. Earth's shipyards worked faster than ever before. Every colony world sent resources and personnel. The Solar Navy expanded from 250 ships to over 400 with more under construction. But numbers alone would not be enough. They needed a plan. Admiral Patricia Kane established her headquarters on Sanctuary Station and gathered the best military minds from all 44 species. Sophie was selected to represent junior officers while Vincent commanded the forward forces. The Devourers' strength is their numbers and ability to adapt, Patricia explained during the first planning session. The old council tried to fight them ship for ship, army for army. They lost because the Devourers kept coming, kept learning, kept overwhelming defensive positions through sheer mass. So we do not fight that way, Vincent said. We use different warfare. Hit-and-run attacks, surprises make them afraid to advance. Commander Grace nodded slowly. Small unit tactics on a galactic scale. It could work, but it requires coordination across multiple species with different military styles. Then we train together, Sophie suggested. Joint exercises. Share our methods and learn theirs. Build an actual unified force instead of separate species fighting independently. The war games began in the 4th month. Human Marines trained alongside Kellyan shock troops. Earth's fighter pilots practiced with Xanthari crystal ships. Warvath empaths learned to coordinate with human tactical officers who relied on technology rather than emotion sensing. It was not easy. Different species had different reflexes, different ways of thinking, different combat ideas. Arguments happened. Training exercises went wrong. Some aliens resented taking orders from humans, while some human commanders struggled to adapt their strategies to alien abilities. But gradually they began to work together. Lieutenant Jacob Hill, the communications officer from the Arizona, found himself coordinating joint operations between human and alien forces. He spent weeks developing new systems that could bridge the gap between species. The problem, he explained to Sophie during a late-night session, is that we all think we are translating perfectly, but we are not. A human says hold the line and we mean stand your ground no matter what. A Kellyan says the same phrase and they mean hold until pulling back is necessary. Small differences create massive problems in combat. So what is the solution? We create a new military language. Commands that mean the same thing to everyone. Remove cultural assumptions and build something from nothing. Jacob pulled up his work. I have been working with Kelvin Jr. and some Warvath language experts. It is rough, but it is a start. Sophie reviewed his system. It was smart, combining precision with clarity. This is excellent, Jacob. Can you have it ready in 6 months? I can have basic combat protocols ready in 3. They were running out of time. Long-range probes tracked the Devourer fleet's progress. They were moving faster than first estimates and their numbers kept growing. Either they had been building ships continuously for 3 centuries, or they were taking more as they traveled. Either possibility was frightening. 13 years, Lisa Park reported during a command meeting. We have 13 years, maybe less, before they reach the outer defensive line we are establishing. Where do we make our stand? Asked General Coleman. Patricia Kane highlighted a star system on the tactical display. The Velos system. 7 planets, 3 of them habitable. It used to be a major council trade hub before the war. More importantly, it has the structure to support massive fleet operations and it is positioned at a natural bottleneck. Any force advancing into council space has to pass through or around it. You want to turn it into a fortress, Vincent said, understanding immediately. Exactly. We have 13 years to fortify every approach. 12 years and 7 months after the Devourer fleet was detected, Captain Vincent Cole stood in the command center of Velos Prime. The massive military fortress sat at the heart of their defensive network. Construction had finished 3 months ahead of schedule because all 44 species worked together toward a common goal. The system around him would be unrecognizable to anyone who knew it during the old council days. Every approach was covered by overlapping weapons fire. Automated defense platforms orbited each planet. Hidden mines floated in space waiting to be activated. The gateway array sat at the center, rebuilt and improved, ready to move reinforcements instantly to any threatened position. Final status report, Vincent said to his command staff. Commander Sophie Grant, now his second-in-command, read from her display. All primary defense stations are online. We have 473 capital ships in position, with another 200 in reserve. Fighter wings are deployed. Ground forces are ready. Medical facilities are prepared for mass casualties. Personnel, Vincent asked. 93,000 military from Earth. 47,000 from Council species. Plus support staff, engineers, medical personnel. Total garrison of 300,000 across all installations. Vincent nodded. They had done everything possible. Whether it would be enough was another question. Admiral Patricia Kane appeared on the view screen from her flagship, the Churchill, positioned at the outer defensive line. The reconnaissance drones just sent their last transmission. The Devourer fleet will arrive in approximately 6 hours. How many? Vincent asked, though he knew the answer would be bad. Best estimate is 2,000 capital ships, possibly more. They are still using slower than light drives, but they have spread out into multiple attack groups. They are not going to hit us in one wave. They have learned, Sophie said quietly. They are using actual tactics now. Vincent pulled up the tactical display. The Devourer fleet approached from multiple directions, forcing the defenders to split their forces. It was a smart strategy that took advantage of the Devourer's numerical superiority. All commands implement Defense Plan Gamma, Vincent ordered. We are going to make them fight for every meter. The waiting was always the hardest part. Across Velos system, hundreds of thousands of beings prepared for battle. Human soldiers checked their equipment alongside Kellyan warriors. Xanthari pilots adjusted their crystal ships while human engineers made final checks on defense systems. Warvath empaths worked with human tactical officers to coordinate the coming chaos. In one of the garrison bays of Velos Prime, Lieutenant Jacob Hill gathered his communications team. They would be responsible for keeping all forces coordinated during the battle, a task made harder by the dozens of species involved. Remember your training, Jacob told them. Use the standardized combat protocols. Keep transmissions clear and simple. If you lose connection with any unit, route through backup channels immediately. Our job is to make sure everyone can talk to everyone else no matter what. One of his team members, a young Xanthari named Crystal, asked nervously, "What if the protocols do not work in actual combat?" "Then we adapt," Jacob said firmly. "That is what we have been training for. Trust your instincts, trust your partners, and we will get through this." On the Churchill, Admiral Kane walked through the ship's corridors talking to crew members. She made a point of visiting every section, saying a few words to each person she passed. It was an old military tradition, the commanders showing themselves before battle, and Patricia believed in its power. She found General Frank Coleman in the Marine Bay inspecting his troops. The general had insisted on being present for the battle despite being past normal combat age. "You should be coordinating from Sanctuary Station," Patricia told him. Frank smiled grimly. "I should be wherever my Marines are. We sent 12,000 humans to fight the Devourers 3 centuries ago. They never came home. I am not letting that happen again. We have better technology now, better strategy. We also have something more important," Frank said, gesturing to the Marines preparing their equipment. "We have a reason to fight. Every person here knows what is at stake. The Devourers do not just want to conquer us. They want to erase us. That makes this simple. We win or we cease to exist." "No pressure then," Patricia said with dark humor. "None at all." As the hours counted down, President Helen Carter broadcast a message from Earth, transmitted to every ship and station in the defense network. 300 years ago our ancestors fought and died at Thresh Nebula, Helen said, her image appearing on screens throughout Velos system. They bought time for refugees to escape, though they did not know it. They sacrificed themselves for people who would later cut us off, leave us alone, thinking they were protecting us. She paused, letting her words sink in. "Today we face the same enemy those ancestors fought. The Devourers are coming, and they will not stop until everything living is consumed. But we are not the species we were 300 years ago. We are not the junior partners grateful for a seat at the table. We are not alone." The camera pulled back to show representatives from all 44 council species standing with her. "We are the new Galactic Council. United not by convenience but by shared purpose. Humans, Xanthari, Kellyan, Warvath, all of us. We remember what was lost. We honor those who died, and we will make our stand together. The galaxy forgot us once," Helen continued. Earth remembered. "And now our warriors storm down from the heavens to remind the Devourers why you should never ignore humanity. Fight well, fight bravely, and come home." Vincent felt the words move through the command center. Around him, humans and aliens alike straightened with new determination. Contact, Lisa Park said from Tactical. The lead Devourer elements are entering the system. All stations, battle stations, Vincent ordered. This is it. The Devourer ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in multiple groups just as predicted. They were massive insectoid constructions, all sharp angles and organic curves unlike anything built by other species. Their hulls shimmered with an odd light and their weapons gave off a sickly green energy that made Vincent uncomfortable just looking at it. The first wave consisted of approximately 300 ships moving toward the outer defensive line where Admiral Kane's forces waited. Weapons range in 30 seconds. Patricia reported from the Churchill. All ships lock targets and prepare to fire on my mark. The Devourer ships accelerated, showing no sign of caution or fear. They simply came on, relentless and hungry. Fire. The void lit up with energy beams, missiles, and solid rounds. The combined firepower of 100 human and council ships struck the Devourer formation. Shields flared, and several enemy vessels exploded, but the rest kept coming. They are tougher than the old records. Indicated, Sophie said, watching the tactical display. They have had 3 centuries to improve too, Vincent replied. Launch fighters. Tell the carriers to deploy all wings. Thousands of small craft poured from the larger ships. Human fighters mixed with Zenthari crystal vessels and Kellyan assault shuttles, creating a dense defensive screen. The Devourers launched their own smaller craft and suddenly space was filled with swirling combat. The battle developed across multiple fronts at once. Admiral Kane's forces held the outer line, trading fire with the first Devourer wave. More enemy ships appeared, hitting different sections of the defense network. Gateway arrays activated, moving reinforcements to threaten positions instantly. In one sector, Commander Grace led a combined force of Kellyan and human ships in a flanking move, hitting a Devourer group from behind. In another, Elder Marcus coordinated defensive fire from the orbital platforms, his Warvath empathic abilities allowing him to predict enemy movements with strange accuracy. The fighting was brutal. Ships on both sides exploded, their crews lost to space, but the defenders held, using their superior positioning and coordination to maximum advantage. They are adapting, Lisa warned. The Devourers in the northern sector are changing tactics. They are ignoring our smaller ships and focusing fire on the defense platforms. Then we adapt too, Vincent said. Redirect fighter wings to provide cover. Tell the platforms to activate shield rotation protocols. Hour after hour, the battle raged. The Devourers kept coming, wave after wave, but each assault was met with determined resistance. Human weapons tore through enemy shields while Zenthari energy beams found weak points in their armor. Kellyan troops boarded damaged Devourer ships, clearing them section by section. Jacob Hill's communications network held together, keeping all forces coordinated despite the chaos. The standardized combat protocols worked, allowing humans and aliens to fight as a unified force rather than separate units. But the cost was mounting. 20 ships lost in the first 6 hours. 40 after 12. Defense platforms destroyed, their crews dying as they continued firing until the last moment. We cannot sustain losses at this rate, Sophie said quietly to Vincent during a brief pause. If they keep coming at this intensity, we will be overwhelmed in days. Vincent studied the tactical display, looking for patterns. The Devourer attacks were coordinated but not creative. They adapted to immediate threats but did not seem to plan ahead. And they always focused on the most obvious targets first. An idea formed.